Hi guys. In the community section of the YouTube channel at Marian Chronicles, I did a post recently about this woman here, Wendy Williams, who is a former talk show host in New York City, right? And basically, Wendy is having a lot of problems right now because she has been put into what's called a guardianship and conservatorship in New York by the judge, or it could be New Jersey. She's in New York, but I think it was the New Jersey courts that um, ordered a guardianship be imposed on Ms. Williams, and because she's a resident of New Jersey, to my understanding. And so that has become this really big story. I was watching Don Lemon's show yesterday, I want to say, and he had this whole hour where he was first speaking with Wendy directly by phone, and then he was talking to someone over at TMZ about Wendy's case. And it seems that there's this hashtag Free Wendy movement that is slowly percolating under this, the surface, where people feel that she has been unlawfully and unreasonably and unfairly detained, such that she is living a life where she has no freedom, she has no autonomy, whether over her person or over her finances. And I believe this is all coming from Wendy herself, because on Don Lemon's show, she was basically complaining that, her guardian has basically imprisoned her effectively and isn't allowing her sometimes, I guess, even to make phone calls. And certainly she has no money. She's, given like $15 at a time. And she's in this dire straits. So apparently she has a guardianship that is overseen by someone named Sabrina Morrissey, who I guess is a total stranger to Wendy. Before that, Wendy had given her son power of attorney over her affairs, and I don't know what happened with that, but some kind of financial transaction was attempted with her bank, Wells Fargo, and Wells Fargo thought these transactions were unusual, and that Wendy's behavior also has become erratic and unusual. So this raised concerns with Wells Fargo, and they reported this to the courts, I am to my understanding. And it was that at that point that the court stripped Wendy's son of the power of attorney and imposed a guardianship to be overseen by this woman named Sabrina Morrissey. And so Wendy is basically crying foul. She's crying. She was with her niece, someone named Alex Finney, I believe, and she's contesting what the Guardian Sabrina Morrissey has said. Sabrina Morrissey has stated that Wendy is cognitively impaired, she's permanently disabled, and she's legally incapacitated, and which is pretty harsh when you consider that Wendy was speaking directly with Don Lemon on his show yesterday, and I believe she spoke also with the Breakfast Club, which is this other sort of talk show or whatever it is. And she sounded okay to me, certainly as a person just listening in the public. If she sounds unlike herself, it certainly would not be to the point of being permanently disabled and legally incapacitated. So a lot of people in the comments in Don's YouTube channel were basically saying, look, let this woman be free to live her life. They have imprisoned her. She's clearly not incapacitated. And then Dawn had this attorney come on and she spoke about the situation. And she's like, well, no one is really in a position to judge what's really going on with Wendy because the fact that she sounds coherent could be the result of the care that she's receiving and the medications that she's on and the guardianship that is taking care of her, which, point taken on one hand. On the other hand, she does sound like, even assuming it is because of the drugs that she's taking, she does sound like someone who does have some marbles left. I mean, she hasn't lost all of her marbles. And, there is an argument to be made that there are many people out in the society today, right now, many, many, many who are less coherent. They are more incapacitated than Wendy, and they are not put under a legal guardianship like Wendy has been put, because there's this kind of tendency, I guess, in the courts where when someone is very rich and when they are very well known, they are famous, quote unquote, the guardianship rules and conservatorship rules are more strictly applied, I guess, to protect their wealth from, family members and others who would be inclined to take advantage of them in their incapacitated state. But that all being said, it still raises the question that, whether this guardianship could be, a form of abuse, right? Because the whole guardianship system itself has been known to be susceptible to abuse, right? Especially when guardians profit from the estate of their wards, right? And if Wendy's guardian is getting money from Wendy for providing this guardianship, which she is, it does create an inherent conflict of interest that does fuel some skepticism for their motives to keep, Wendy locked up, to keep Wendy, not being free to take care of herself despite, her issues. But that all said, though, it does bring me to this whole thing with how Wendy was with Meghan, and how she was so unsympathetic with Meghan, and how she just was like, you will get no sympathy from us, And ironically, Wendy's plight, today, is a striking example of how her unsympathetic stance towards Meghan has come back to sort of be her calmer, because when she was like, oh, nobody feels sorry for you, Meghan, when Meghan was talking about, the difficulties that she was experiencing, adapting to a life in a royal family. And Wendy was just like, Megan, nobody feels sorry for you. She said that on her talk show, and she dismissed Megan's struggles and said that Megan, that they were self-inflicted, that Megan knew exactly what she was doing when she got involved with Harry, and, talking about how she admires Megan's hustle and this and that. So she was very much, if not a full-fledged hater at that point, she definitely would have become like a Candace Owen and a Megyn Kelly by now if she hadn't fallen into her own issues with her mental health. And so, there is that, I mean, I certainly don't believe that, well, because she was unsympathetic to Meghan, then therefore I'm unsympathetic to her. No, it's not that, but it is to say that, it's very interesting how so many people who not only were unsympathetic to Meghan, but some of them were downright mean to Meghan, really mean, really inhumane, really just not nice, you know. And it's always so interesting to see how, what, they get this karma that, is so, you know, almost, it just leaves you like, wow, this is exactly what she did to Megan. It's like nobody feels sorry for you, Megan. How would she feel, in other words, if someone were to say, nobody feels sorry for you, Wendy, now that she is going through her own situation, right? Because, we're all humans and we all have our own different problems in life. And everybody has problems, your problems may be different from my problems, but the idea that someone is experiencing a difficulty and, they share it with you and you're just like, oh, nobody feels sorry for you. It's like once I had this friend, she's no longer my friend, but, I remember her saying, I'm glad she fucked you over. And she said that about someone, I don't remember even who it was, who had done something to me that I had shared with her. I was hurt or whatever. And her response was, I'm glad she fucked you over. And I don't think she ever got her karma, so, there's that. But I haven't seen her in many years, so who knows. But the idea is that, when someone is, sharing with you um, a difficulty they've had or whatever, one, I think we should all be careful not to be, too unsympathetic because, there will be that time when we would want to have sympathy as well. And I think in this case with Wendy, it's so public how, um, you know, she clearly is someone I would say that needs sympathy now. And for anybody to say, Wendy, nobody feels sorry for you, it would just be so cruel and so callous. And the thing is that, it would not necessarily be unfair, even though it would be cruel, because when Wendy was in her prime and she had the bully pulpit, she wasn't very, very kind to other people, I don't think. I mean, she didn't care what she said about other people, how it made them feel, if it meant that she got ratings for her show and big ratings. And I believe if you dig in this YouTube channel somewhere, I'm sure there's at least one video about Wendy back in, say, 2020 or 2021 or something like that, before she sort of fell into this situation. Because, it was very sudden how she just collapsed. I mean, she was married and there was something with her husband and he was always on the show with her behind the scenes helping, and then suddenly there was something where there was some other woman. I don't know if he had a child with the other woman or there was this other woman, and that just completely, Wendy was never the same after her husband's alleged extramarital situation. She was never the same. And it goes to show that she was very fragile. She was clearly very much in love with him. I understand all of that. But prior to that, she did not show any mercy to anyone else at any time. And so now look, we all have to still feel sorry for her.